Hello and welcome to my channel. This channel is all about reading audiobooks from Erin Hunter, or similar books. The book I'll be reading today is called Hawkwing's Journey, and it is a super edition within the series Warriors, written by Erin Hunter. Hawkwing stood staring up into the branches of a massive oak tree, wondering if it might be the tree that splits into three that Darktail had told them about. This was the third day since they'd left camp, and already the sun was beginning to slide down the sky. Every cat was beginning to wonder whether somehow they had gone wrong and missed Darktail's landmark. "This must be it," Billy Storm meowed. "Look, the trunk splits into three, about 5 fox lengths up." The leaves had still not reached their green leaf fullness, so it was easy to see how the huge thick trunk divided, and Hawkwing could see this was clearly the wrong tree. "If we take this as our landmark, then the whole quest is doomed," he thought. "I have to say something." Hawkwing took a breath. This was the first time he had really spoken to his clanmates since his outburst after the two-legs attack. "See how that branch splits again a tail length away from the first fork?" He gestured at it with his tail. "So if you're looking closely, the tree splits into 4, not 3. "Well, 3 of the branches are very thick," Whisker pointed out, "and the 4th one's much thinner, so maybe it shouldn't be counted." Hawkwing felt his neck fur begin to bristle. Of course it should. Any cat can see it divides into 4, not 3. How great it must be to be a young cat, Whisker's tail tip twitched irritably. "They know everything. Hawkwing, if you—" "That's enough." Billy Storm stepped forward. "I suggest we put it to a vote. Is this Darktail's tree, or isn't it?" "I don't think it is," Hawkwing responded instantly, hurt by Whisker's snarky comment. "We have to follow Echo Song's vision and find the other clans. If we get this wrong, who knows what will happen?" "I vote we carry on until we find a tree that really does split into 3 and not 4. "You know what I think," Whisker huffed. "This is it, no question." "I agree," Pebblepaw mewed with a glance at Hawkwing. He couldn't read her expression, to know if she was voting against him just to be spiteful. Could she really be that petty, to risk the whole quest just to get at me? "So do I," Blossom Heart added. Hawkwing felt his shoulder fur beginning to bristle. "Even my own sister won't back me up." Billy Storm nodded. "I have to say, I do too," he responded to Blossom Heart. "Hawkwing, maybe Darktail didn't look as closely as you did. At first glance, the tree splits into 3. Hawkwing shrugged. He knew there was no point in arguing anymore, when he was outvoted 4-1. "I just hope Billy Storm's right, otherwise we'll never find the other clans." Following Darktail's directions, Billy Storm led the way toward the setting sun. It was already low on the horizon, staining the sky red and casting the cats' shadows behind them. Hawkwing realized that every cat except him was in good spirits, drawing new energy from finding the sign and believing they were now only a short journey from the cats they'd set out to find. "I wonder what they'll be like," Blossom Heart mewed. "The other clan cats. Won't they be surprised to see us?" "I wonder," Pebblepaw murmured, awkwardly, concern clouding her gaze. "What will we do if the other clans don't want us to join them? After all, didn't the same clans drive us out all those seasons ago? Isn't that what Sky Clan lives alone?" "That was ages ago," Hawkwing snapped, adding under his breath, "mouse brain." Billy Storm let out a sigh, ignoring Hawkwing's comment. "Yes, that's a sad part of Sky Clan history. We had to leave the forest when we lost our territory, and the other clans didn't help. But Firestar told us that he regretted what happened. As far as we know, the rest of the present-day clans will feel the same way. They have no reason not to welcome us." "But," Pebblepaw began. "We don't know what will happen when we meet the other clans," Billy Storm called off his apprentice in a calm but firm voice. "But we have to believe that StarClan will not lead us astray." The younger cats fell silent, leaving Billy Storm and Whisker to chat casually as the patrol padded on through light woodland. "I wonder what it'll be like, meeting Firestar's kin," Whisker meowed. "I can't wait." Billy Storm's voice was warm. "According to Leafstar, he was such a great cat. Surely we've got a lot to learn from his kin." Hawkwing wasn't actually sure what he felt about meeting the other clans. He'd only argued with Pebblepaw because he couldn't stand to agree with her. Privately, he wasn't at all sure the old grudges would have been laid to rest. He wondered too what it would be like to live close to other cats. SkyClan had been alone for so long. Will we have to change the way we do things? The forest quickly drew denser,
with more fern and bramble thickets between the trees. Soon the cats heard the sound of running water, heading toward it. They came out of a clump of elder bushes and found themselves on the edge of a small stream. "We should follow this," Billy Storm meowed. "Darktail mentioned a stream." "He also mentioned a clearing," Boss Whisker pointed out. "But I suppose if we follow the stream, we might find that before long." Senior warriors were right. Almost at once, the questing cats emerged from the undergrowth into a large clearing surrounded by mossy banks. Hawkwing felt embarrassed to realize that he'd argued so vehemently about the tree, and now he had been proved wrong. To his relief, none of his claymates mentioned that, not even Pebblepaw. "At least we are on the right track, so we should find the other clans soon." If Darktail's directions were correct, they were very close. Can it really be this easy? "This must be Darktail's clearing," Billy Storm mewed, glancing around. "So we're near the end of our quest," Blossom Heart exclaimed, clawing at the ground in excitement. "What did Darktail say? The clan cats are 2 sunrises' journey beyond this?" Billy Storm nodded. "That's right. I suggest we make camp here and—" "What's that smell?" Pebblepaw interrupted. Hawkwing tasted the air and picked up a strong, musty scent. He'd smelled it before, in the woods at the top of the gorge opposite the camp. "Badger," he murmured. "Darktail said they used to live here." As the cats advanced further into the clearing, the scent grew even stronger. Hawkwing noticed several dark holes in the mossy banks, too big to be rabbit burrows. The scent seemed to flow out of them. All the hairs on the back of Hawkwing's neck began to rise. "The scent is really strong. Do you think the badgers might still be here?" he asked. "Wouldn't it be stale and faint if the badgers really had abandoned the place, like Darktail said?" Before any cat could reply, Hawkwing spotted movement deep in one of the holes, and a wedge-shaped snout appeared. Hawkwing stood rigid at the sight of the white stripe down the badger's muzzle and its bright, malignant eyes. As the badger emerged into the open, Blossom Heart let out a screech. Whirling, Hawkwing saw 2 more badgers thrust their way out of 2 different holes on the far side of the clearing. Panic seized Hawkwing's gut. Darktail was wrong, he realized as panic crashed over him. The badger den isn't abandoned at all. For a heartbeat, it seemed as if every creature had been frozen into ice. Then the badgers plunged into the attack. The biggest of them headed straight for Blossom Heart, its teeth bared. Blossom Heart leaped backward, but her paws skidded, and she fell. The badger lunged for her neck. "No!" Hawkwing sprang into action, flinging himself between his sister and her attacker. "I'm not going to let another of my little mates get killed." The badger's teeth sank into his shoulder, but Hawkwing barely felt it. His whole being was filled with terror for Blossom Heart and determination to save her, whatever it took. "Leave her alone, mange pelt," he growled. The badger began to shake him, lifting his paws off the ground. Then behind him he heard Blossom Heart let out another screech. At the same moment she flew over his shoulder and landed on the big badger's back, digging in her claws and raking it at her ears as it tried to make it let go of Hawkwing. The grip of the badger's teeth loosened, and Hawkwing tore himself free. He slashed his claws across the badger's flank, then darted back out of range of its blunt, stripy head. The badger reared up on its hind paws, shaking its shoulders in an attempt to dislodge Blossom Heart, but she clung on, still swiping at its ears. In a moment of respite, Hawkwing glanced across the clearing to see that 2 smaller badgers were attacking Boss Whisker, Pebblepaw, and Billy Storm from either side. The 3 cats had clustered together, back to back, to defend themselves. Hawkwing guessed these badgers were younger and less experienced than the one that had attacked Blossom Heart, but their teeth and claws were still powerful and dangerous. Hawkwing threw himself at the big badger again, springing up to claw at its shoulder, then leaping away. "Maybe we can tire it out." The big badger at last managed to throw Blossom Heart off. As she hit the ground, she rolled over underneath her attacker and delivered a raking blow to its belly, then scrambled out on its other side and back to her paws. The badger let out a ferocious cry that echoed around the clearing. As if in response, another badger emerged from the tunnels and lumbered over to join in the fight. It was even bigger than the first one, a furious glitter in its tiny black eyes as it focused on the cats. "Great Star Clan," Hawkwing thought despairingly. "Now I have to take on 2 of them. How many more are there?" Even though it was injured, the first badger was still a formidable opponent, and it seemed to draw new energy from the appearance of its den mate. Hawkwing crouched defiantly, ready to leap into battle again. "The odds aren't good, but I'm going to fight my hardest." Then a speckled white blur flew across Hawkwing's vision. Pebblepaw! The she-cat hurled herself at the first badger, slashed at its eyes, and then whirled to swipe at the other one. Both badgers let out roars of pain and began to back away. The one already injured by Hawkwing and Blossomheart turned and trundled off back into its hole. The biggest badger remained slumped in the grass, clawing at the blood that trickled from around its eyes and down its nose. Warm gratitude to Pebblepaw flooded through Hawkwing, and after it had been so nasty to her. Then he realized he had no idea what happened to his other clanmates. Billy Storm, Wasp-Whisker, Hawkwing thought, whipping around with Pebblepaw and Blossomheart to help them in their battle. Then his heart lurched. He could see now that Wasp-Whisker was limping on 3 legs, and blood was pouring from one of his ears. Beside him, Billy Storm lay motionless in a pool of blood. No! Hawkwing felt as if every muscle in his body had been turned to ice. I can't imagine SkyClan without Billy Storm, and he means so much to Leafstar. How will we manage without him? Pebblepaw let out a screech and threw herself across the clearing, snapping and clawing as she attacked the badgers. Hawkwing and Blossomheart followed hard on her paws. The biggest badger joined in again, and the clearing seemed full of their reek and their snarling. The sight of Billy Storm's body gave strength to Hawkwing's fury as he leaped and slashed at the 3 attackers. But Pebblepaw seemed to be everywhere, a shrieking whirl of teeth and claws, flinging himself into the battle with no thought of her own safety. She's lost control, Hawkwing thought, anguished. She's taking too many risks. She must want to avenge Billy Storm. At last the biggest badger let out a harsh cry. All 3 badgers began to retreat, and Pebblepaw harried them, biting and clawing at their hind paws as they lumbered across the clearing and vanished down their holes. Let them go! It's over! Hawkwing gasped to Pebblepaw. Pebblepaw glanced at him, and Hawkwing saw in her eyes the same desperation he had felt when Duskpaw died. She turned back, panting, and then raced across the clearing and flung herself down beside Billy Storm's body. Hawkwing's heart lurched as he saw the massive wound slashed across the ginger and white Tom's belly. Blood seeped from it into Pebblepaw's fur. "Billy Storm!" Pebblepaw exclaimed, shaking him by the shoulder. "It's okay. They're gone." But Billy Storm still didn't move. Wasp-Whisker bent his head to touch the apprentice's ear with his nose. "I'm sorry, Pebblepaw," he murmured. "He's dead." "No!" Pebblepaw flung her head back and let out a horrible shriek. Hawkwing felt his heart twist with pain. All his annoyance by Pebblepaw faded into the face of her obvious, inconsolable grief. "Let's carry him away from here," he suggested. "We'll find a place to sit vigil for him." Pebblepaw turned to face him with a blind stare, as if she wasn't sure who he was. Then she bowed her head without speaking. "What are we going to tell Leafstar?" Blossomheart whispered. "The truth," Wasp-Whisker responded, his voice hoarse. "Billy Storm died a warrior's death, defending his clanmates." Hawkwing supposed that the senior warrior's words should have been comforting, but he also knew that nothing would comfort Leafstar once she learned that they lost Billy Storm.